can be very challenging and it can be amazing. Um, he's taught my husband and I to be much better people. He's kind, um, loving. He's a good boy, but he's not 38, he's 10.
That's Jody Tulloch. She's on the board of Cape Cod's Forward, which develops supportive housing for autistic adults. She's also parent to a 38-year-old son with autism. During April, she's joining in the chorus to bring acceptance to people across the spectrum. Tulloch and Forward President Kathy Oman shared their lived experience with CapeCodNews.org.
Autism, for me, is a genetic disability that's a very complicated genetic disability. And as Jody said, her son is one individual. We have two sons who have autism, and they are both very, and always have been, very, very different people in terms of their abilities and their thinking and how they're able to negotiate the world. April, Autism Awareness Month, is not just about understanding and awareness. It's about acceptance too, and I think it's a great trend to ask typical people or other people in the world to be more tolerant of some of the things you might see with people with autism.
So, for instance, he believes in Santa Claus. Literally. The Easter Bunny. There's no gray area with Maddie. It's just black and white. Most autism adults have a fixation on something. His happens to be movies and movie actors. He has a memory like there's no tomorrow.
So people with autism often have trouble with basic socialization or maybe understanding social cues, and so communicating with people at work, at play, at after work activities, at the grocery store, at any of the kinds of things that you do in your daily life, is different for them.
Ullman says the disorder is genetic. Variations in several genes combine to create a range of severity and symptoms. That's why the Autism Society says the condition is now called autism spectrum disorder, with an emphasis on spectrum, because it affects people differently and to varying degrees. Some people with autism will always need some level of care, while others live fully independent lives.
So I remember going into his kindergarten, that first meet and greet, they're going to tell you all about your child. And there was 19 people in there, the psychologist, everyone, and they're like, you have a problem. So that's where it started. Many, many doctor's appointments later, he was finally diagnosed.
My son, John, has a bachelor's degree from UMass Amherst that he worked very hard to get. He spent 3 years at Cape Cod Community College learning how to go to college. It was a fabulous experience for him. And then he went away to school, 3 hours away from here. And it wasn't easy for him, but he had great people supporting him out there, but needed his own room because he talks to himself, sometimes at a very high volume. Anxiety is a hallmark of this disorder, and he uses that to quell his anxiety. He's also learned all kinds of things to help him with his anxiety. Most importantly, working with horses. His degree is in equine and canine massage therapy. It's up to people with autism to do their part as well as it is for us to develop acceptance and understanding and then accept. It's not just about understanding what's going on. It's about seeing these people working in the real world.
And that's the point of Autism Acceptance Month. Over the past several decades, things have changed, and for the better. Awareness led to more effective early intervention and more, acceptance.
It's a genetic neurological disorder that isn't curable, but it's treatable. And certainly, but all of our kids are examples of that.
There is fun parts of
Yeah,
it.
right.
Talk about those. What are the fun parts?
He comes up with the funniest things.
Right.
I mean,
He does, yeah.
And he cracks us up, and then he can drive us crazy in the next minute.
Right,
But, well, like Christmas morning in my house is magical. We couldn't. He comes right down the chimney. He hears the reindeers on the.
Right.
And we've tried to tell him that there is no Santa Claus, that Mommy and Daddy do it. That was at 21. Whoops. And he didn't believe that Steve and I could come down the chimney.
My husband and I were on a biking trip, and one of the several years ago, and one of the guides' name was Colleen. She's telling me about her yoga class in Ireland. She had a young man named Patrick in her class, and Patrick came with an aide. Patrick had autism. He was uncomfortable at first, like not comfortable in the setting with other typical people are taking yoga class, but he warmed up to it, and as he began to enjoy the yoga classes, he made a lot of noise. I mean, because that was his thing, probably in the group home that he lived in. He can be in his room and make noise and grunt and whatever it was, whatever his affectation was. But he was pretty loud and different, and we call it stimming. Maybe did a lot of. So then Colleen said, "Yeah, and after several sessions, people started complaining about him to me." And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, that's too bad. So did Patrick have to leave the class?" Because that was always my experience with my kids. They had to leave. And she said, "Oh, no, I told them to get lost if they couldn't handle Patrick." And I was
Amen.
like,
But yeah, I'm just happy that he's happy and that he's finally accepted at this community connections. We've finally found a place. We call it a safe place. He's been there for 10 years. He's kind of the mayor there now. So yeah, as long as Maddie's happy and accepted, I'm happy.
you don't know how any of this is going to go when you have a child. Like, whatever you thought it was going to be, it's not in any way, right? Yeah, everyone's family is a little different, but there's a lot of people who have a touch and are on the spectrum everywhere you go.